Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. I came home a little after 6 with takeout in one hand and my jacket half off my shoulder. It had been a long day, but not a bad one. Friday nights usually meant something simple. Food on the couch, an old movie, maybe the kind of quiet that doesn't need fixing. Martha was at the sink, tying her hair up. She wore a pale blouse I hadn't seen in months, tucked into black jeans that didn't look casual. "Dinner's on me tonight," I said, holding up the bag. "I even skipped the superhero stuff for you." She didn't look up. "Can't tonight," she said. "The committee's meeting at the cafe." "Budget stuff? On a Friday?" I leaned against the counter. "Didn't know the town council worked overtime." "They moved it up," she replied too fast. "Schedules shifted." She smiled, short and practiced, like someone clocking out of a lie. "Sit for 10 minutes at least," I said. "Eat before you go." "I already promised I'd be there." She reached for her tote, already packed, which told me how much this meeting had been planned. "You seem nervous," I said quietly. "About spreadsheets?" She laughed, too loudly. "Please." Her hands trembled just enough to blur the edge of her eyeliner. I didn't push, just nodded and said, "Text me when you're on your way home." She gave me a look. "You're not my dad, Kevin." "No," I said. "I'm the guy who bought dinner." She pulled the door shut. The deadbolt clicked sharply than usual. The house went quiet, that kind of heavy quiet that feels like someone's still arguing in another room. That's when I knew. Something small had just shifted, and it wasn't going back. Martha came home close to midnight. She stepped inside like someone testing the temperature of a pool. Slow, cautious. "You're still up?" she asked, dropping her bag by the door. "Hard to sleep on an empty conversation." She sighed, kicked off her shoes, and reached for her phone. "Please don't start, Kevin. It was just coffee." "With who?" "The committee," she said too evenly. "I told you." I kept my voice calm. "You said the committee, not the hours. I asked you to text." "I forgot." "No, you decided not to." She rolled her eyes. "Can we not make a fight out of everything?" "I'm not fighting," I said. "I'm setting a rule. If you're out late, just tell me where and with whom. It's courtesy, not control. I don't report to anyone." "You don't," I said. "You partner with someone. Difference matters." She stood there, arms crossed, chin lifted. "You're being dramatic." "Maybe," I said, "but I'm also being clear." She shook her head, muttered something about overreactions, and disappeared down the hall. For the next 3 days, our house sounded like an airport before dawn. Quiet, distant, everything moving on its own schedule. She answered questions with half words. I stopped asking them. By Saturday, I figured the company might ease the frost. Our neighbors, Carla and Sawyer, were hosting a cookout, and I thought public air might do us both good. Martha stood with her friend Alicia, thumbs moving across her phone like she was solving a crisis. Sawyer clapped me on the shoulder. "You two look tired." "Everything all right?" "Just busy," I said. "Work's a season." Alicia glanced over, smiled too sweetly, and said, "Martha's just been under pressure. You know how committees are." I nodded. Martha avoided my eyes. That night, walking home, she said nothing. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was routine. By Wednesday, the silence had started to rot. Then, out of nowhere, Martha softened. She came into the garage while I was tightening a bracket on the shelf, leaned against the frame, and said, "I've been a jerk." I set the wrench down. "You've been distant," I said. "That's different." She smiled a little. "Work's been rough. Mom's tests didn't go great. I didn't mean to take it out on you." I nodded, waiting. "Let me fix it," she said. "Dinner out this weekend. No phones, just us, like old times." It sounded rehearsed, but I let her have it. "Fine." Saturday. Saturday came and she delivered. A restaurant downtown. She looked like she'd spent time getting ready. We talked about nothing important, and for once, that felt almost enough. When the bill came, she grabbed it before I could. "Don't faint," she said with a grin. "Noted," I said. "Keep the receipts." She laughed, and for a second it sounded real. On the way back to the car, she looped her arm through mine. "See? We're fine," she said. "We're on better behavior," I replied. "That's not the same thing." She stopped walking. "You always need something to fix." "I just need respect to be mutual." Her jaw tightened. She didn't answer. When we got home, she changed into sweats, kissed me once on the cheek, and said she was turning in early. I sat in the quiet kitchen. She wanted peace on her terms, temporary, conditional. And me, I'd learned to stop pushing. Peace that depends on pretending isn't peace at all. It's an intermission. I started seeing it then, the way she'd buy calm just long enough to reset the guilt clock. And I knew the next act was already written. Thursday night, I came home late from the shop. Martha was on the couch with her laptop, pretending to read an article. "Long day?" I asked, dropping my keys. She nodded, eyes still on the screen. "Just finishing something up." "Dinner?" I grabbed something earlier. I sat across from her, started sorting receipts. That's when her phone buzzed on the table between us. She reached for it a second too late. The message preview flashed clear as daylight. "Same place as last time. 8:15, can't wait." No name, just an initial R. Her hand closed over the screen like she could crush the words. "It's nothing," she said quickly. "Coworker stuff." "Late-night projects?" I asked. "He's going through a divorce," she said. "He needed advice." "People don't ask married women for therapy sessions after dark," I said evenly. She stood, clutching her phone. "Don't twist this into something it isn't." "I'm tired." "Go ahead," I said, calm. "Get some rest." She walked off, her shoulders stiff. I sat there for a while. I didn't check her phone. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I already had my answer. The next morning, I called Javier Alvarez at the bank. He's been my financial guy for years. We moved my savings into a separate account. Clean, legal, quiet. After that, I called Susan Lee, a lawyer I'd done paperwork with once for the shop. I told her I needed a consultation. She didn't ask why. She'd seen that tone before. By afternoon, everything important was documented. I didn't skip work, didn't act differently. That Sunday, Alicia stopped by while Martha was in the shower. She handed me a plate of cookies and chatted like she was on stage. Somewhere in the middle of her rambling, she said, "That gallery you two went to last week looked amazing." Martha couldn't stop talking about it. I looked at her. "Gallery?" "Yeah," she said. "Downtown. The one with the rooftop lights." I smiled politely. "Right. That one." She left 10 minutes later. I stood in the doorway listening to the water run upstairs, each second confirming what I already knew. The night she'd said she was at her mother's, she'd been under rooftop lights with someone whose name started with R. That evening, Martha came down in a dress, cooking like she wanted to erase the past 7 days. Candles, wine, soft music, the whole script. "This looks nice," I said. "I wanted to do something special," she said. "We've both been tense. Let's reset." "Resetting's honesty," I said. "Not decorating it." She forced a smile. "You always think there's a hidden meaning behind everything." I set my glass down. "Tell me one thing, Martha. There's no one asking for your nights?" Her eyes flicked away. "You're paranoid." "Maybe," I said. "But paranoia's born from patterns." She sighed, long and dramatic. "I can't do this right now." "Then don't," I said. We ate quietly. Afterward, she went upstairs without saying goodnight. The next morning, I drove downtown, walked into Susan Lee's office, and signed the paperwork. She looked over the documents and said, "You're certain?" "I was certain a week ago," I said. By lunch, I'd filed. The next day, she was out again for another meeting that had run late. The house stayed quiet, and that's when I took care of what needed doing. I'd changed the code on the smart lock. 2 suitcases sat by the hall closet. One folder that held copies of everything: assets, accounts, signatures. No threats, no shouting, just order. I didn't feel angry. I felt finished. Some endings don't need witnesses. They just need clean lines. That night, I sat on the couch and waited for her. At 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. One message glowed across the screen. "Busy now. I'll call after." No punctuation, no explanation. I stared at it for a long moment, then typed back one line. "No need. Come get your things." I set the phone down and waited. At 2:10, headlights swept across the front yard. A car door slammed. Footsteps hurried up the porch. The doorknob rattled, then stopped. She'd found the code changed. "Kevin?" Her voice cracked. "Open the door." "Your things are packed," I said. "Front hall." She spotted the suitcases, then the folder. "You're insane. You can't just—" "I can." And I did. This is ridiculous. You read a text and decide to destroy a marriage? No, I said. You destroyed it when a stranger sounded more important than mine. You're paranoid, she shouted. You're controlling, Kevin. Maybe, I said, but I'm also done. She looked at the folder. What is in that folder? Clarity. She opened it. The divorce filing, signed that morning. Her breath caught. You actually filed? Yes. You didn't even talk to me first. I've been talking for months, I said quietly. You just stopped listening. For a second, her anger dropped, replaced by fear. Kevin, please, I can explain. I don't need an explanation, I said. You applied for another life. I just approved it. She stood there trembling, the reality sinking in. Then she grabbed the handle of a suitcase and left without another word. The next few days blurred together. My phone lit up like a siren. Unknown numbers, calls, long voicemails I didn't play. When I did listen, it was the same cycle. Anger, apology, tears, and blame. You overreacted. We can fix this. You owe me a chance. I didn't owe her anything except silence, and I paid that in full. By the third day, Martha came to the house. She stood at the gate, shouting my name. Alicia was with her, arms folded like a lawyer without credentials. I walked out, calm. You can't just put her out like this, Alicia said. She has nowhere to go. She has plenty of places, I replied. Just not here. Martha's face was flushed, her voice cracking. Kevin, please. We can talk. You're being cruel. Clarity isn't cruel, I said. Confusion is. Alicia scoffed. You always have to be right, don't you? No, I said. I just stopped being wrong on purpose. They left. Neighbors peeked through blinds, and I didn't care. That was my public boundary. Witnessed, simple, final. After that, things got quieter. The papers moved fast. Susan Lee handled the filings with precision. My assets were clean, house, shop, savings, all in my name before we met. Martha tried to contest the furniture. Every claim met the same answer, proof. She started to unravel. Word got around that she'd missed work twice, that her boss had cut her hours. She called her mother for help and got told to face the consequences. The calm she used to fake turned brittle. I kept my world tight. Work, gym, poker night at my friend Raymond's garage. Some nights we'd just sit around, talk about cars and small victories. No drama, no guessing games. One Friday, Raymond dragged me to a trivia night. That's where I met Natalie. She laughed easily, didn't play chess with her words. We talked about old trucks, bad coffee, and why people stay in things that are already broken. I didn't flirt. I listened. For the first time in months, listening didn't feel like waiting for a lie. 3 months later, the divorce was finalized with one email from Susan Lee. All filings approved. Case closed. No celebration, no champagne. I just stared at the message and exhaled. The next morning felt different. Not lighter, not happier, just still. I made coffee, read the news, and didn't check the clock. The quiet that once felt like punishment now sounded like peace. Martha moved into a small apartment near the train station. Carla mentioned it once in passing, said she'd seen her thinner, distracted. I didn't ask for details. Some stories lose value the more you reopen them. Word drifted through the neighborhood. She'd changed jobs, sold her car, and started sharing her version of things. In her version, I was controlling, cold, obsessed with respect. Maybe she believed it. People tell whatever story helps them live with the ending. I let her. I fixed the house one room at a time. Every Saturday, I worked at the shop till noon, then drove out to the lake. Sometimes Natalie came along. She didn't fill the silence. She let it sit. One Sunday, we sat on the tailgate, and she asked, "Do you miss her?" "I miss who I thought she was," I said. That version was good. Natalie nodded. The good version's always the first one people show. She was right. That night, after I dropped her off, I came home and went to the toolbox. I took a blank index card, wrote a line, and taped it to the inside of the lid. Respect is prepaid. If it's not, service stops. No metaphors, no advice. Just a rule. Later, I sat at the kitchen table, the same room where the shift had started. The difference was, this time, the quiet wasn't hiding anything. Thank you for watching.